Good morning.
Good morning.
As I was thinking the other day what to talk about for this lecture today, I heard a voice saying, talk about prayer. I said, prayers? Okay. And as I started brainstorming about prayers, what to say about prayers, I heard other thoughts coming. Ashken, talk about this. Ashken, no, talk about that. How about this subject? How about this subject? So as I was in the midst of all these thoughts, I couldn't decide which one to pick. There were so many. I heard a knock on my door, and as I opened the door, it was my neighbor. She handed me a gift saying, happy belated birthday. I couldn't get this on time to you. Here it is now. And she ran to work. As I opened the gift, and there it was, a beautiful praying angel. So that immediately validated my initial thought about talking about prayers. So what is prayer, and how does prayer work? Prayer is a communication process that allows us to talk with God. When we are praying, we establish a direct connection with God to communicate with Him. It is pretty much similar to the way we talk on the cell phone. When we want to talk to someone, we dial the phone numbers on the cell phone, and the person on the other end, when responds to the call, we establish a communication and we start talking back and forth. So when we are praying, we are communicating with God. We usually ask God for help, guidance, or to fulfill a certain need that we have. Some people pray by following certain format written prayers that are written for a specific occasion, such as there are prayers for safety, protection, strength, faith, prayers for praise. And if you look at the Psalm section in the Bible, there is about, I think, 150 prayers that are written for specific occasions. Most major religions involve prayer in their practice or rituals. The act of prayer is attested in written sources as early as 5,000 years ago. Some anthropologists, such as Edward Burnett and others, believe that the earliest intelligent modern humans practiced something that we would recognize today as prayer. So prayers existed back in the 5,000 years ago. I was born and raised as an Orthodox Christian, Armenian Orthodox Christian, and where the Lord's Prayer was the main prayer that we said in our spiritual practice. I was raised with very strong cultural traditions that was rooted deep into early Christianity. According to history, our history, my name is Ashken, is the name of the first Armenian queen that ruled that region in the 300s after Christ. And Queen Ashken was the first Armenian queen that she accepted Christianity and declared it as a state religion. So, according to our customs and traditions, as children, as we start speaking, talking, the first thing that we learn, I should say we must learn, is the Lord's Prayer. We learn the Lord's Prayer at a very young age. And we say it. The Lord's Prayer is said pretty much in all occasions. During church services, the priest starts with the Lord's Prayer and ends the service with the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer was said during weddings, funerals, baptism. Pretty much when the priest visits the houses to bless the houses, he would start with the Lord's Prayer and ends with the Lord's Prayer. So as a child, I had this personal connection with this prayer. And every time I said the prayer, I would feel good. I would feel something that happened in me that made me feel better. I said the prayer in the mornings before I ate my meal, and I said the prayer at nights before going to bed, knowing that when I said the prayer, I'll be safe. The prayer is a universal prayer that covers pretty much all that we need in our life. And the way the prayer is written, it is a universal that includes everyone. So when I am saying the prayer, I'm not just saying it to myself, but including everyone in the prayer. As I grew up, I took this prayer with me everywhere I went. When I started my spiritual quest and got into the metaphysical studies, this prayer went with me everywhere. When I first learned how to meditate, I always said the prayer first and then went into meditation. So it remained part of me. One day, I was at a New Age Expo, Holistic Expo in Los Angeles. I think it was back in the mid-90s. There was a 4-day conference that was going on. There were many lecturers, teachers, speakers that had come from pretty much all over the States. There were workshops going on about the spirituality, holistic living, and the New Age movement that was on at that time. So there was a lot going on, and I was just getting fed with all these information. And there were also vendors that they were on the lower level of the hotel where the conference was being held. And I went, as I started going through the vendors, they were selling all kinds of related items to the conference, accessories, books, literature, clothing, music, CDs. So as I was walking by, I came to a book stand where I noticed a book that intrigued my attention. And as I got closer to that book, the title read Universal and Kabbalistic Meditation on the Lord's Prayer. And the minute I saw the Lord's Prayer, I did not need to look in the content of the book, so I went right away. I picked it up, I purchased it, and I rushed to my room as if I found a treasure and I wanted to see what was inside that treasure. And as I opened the book and started going through the pages, I was enlightened big time. I just saw that I found out that the Lord's Prayer is connected to our chakras in our spirit body, and every time we say the prayer, and each phrase from the prayer, it actually balances and it heals a specific chakra in our spirit body, and our spirit body helps us to heal our emotional body, mental body, and physical body. So to me that was truly enlightening, and my connection to the prayer became even stronger. Before I said it with blind faith, and with love. And now when I say the prayer, I get really in tune and I go deeper, and I know that something really major happening, healing happening every time I say the prayer. So I still say the prayer wherever I am. There are also many books that talk about prayers, books that say, talk about the power of prayer, books that say prayer works, answered prayer. So how does prayer work? In order for a prayer to work, there are 3 steps that are important and we must consider during the process of prayer. First, we must acknowledge that there is God. God exists within our reach. We must know that there is a greater supreme force that governs us and the entire universe. And we have the option to communicate with God anytime we choose. As it says in Hebrews chapter 11:6, anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. Second, we must pray with confidence and believe that God is listening to us. We must have faith that God will deliver answer to our prayers. And in Ephesians chapter 3:12 says, in him and through faith in him, we may approach God with freedom and confidence. And also in Hebrews chapter 4:16 says, let us then approach the throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. Third, we must pray with expectations that God will deliver us our needs. We can't just say the prayer and forget about it. We must just wait, listen, and expect. And in the Psalm section, chapter 5:3 says, in the morning, O Lord, you hear my voice in the morning. I lay my request before you and wait in expectations. So when we are expecting, we will receive, and having the confidence that we are going to receive, we will receive. So these 3 keys are very important while we are engaged in a prayer. So now I'm going to explain what does exactly happen during the prayer. I'm going to talk about the actual mechanism of the prayer. We usually turn to prayer when we have utilized our human resources. In other words, when we tried all the power that we have with our mind, trying to solve a problem or a challenge. It could be any challenge or any problem. It's a health challenge or a situation that we're trying to fix it and we can't. So when we reach to a dead end that we can't deal with it anymore, and knowing that there is higher power, there is God, we turn to God. And the minute we turn to God, we let go of our human limited self and we turn to our spirit. It is through our spirit that we can communicate with God. So when we turn out to our spirit acts as our cellular body. Like the cell phone, our cellular body, our spirit connects us to our higher self, to our I am presence. And once we do that, we establish the connection. So what is the I am? I am is the source of all knowing. When we connect to the I am presence, we are connected to the entire universal power. You want to call it intelligence, supreme power, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. So we connect to that entire force that governs us. And when we are in that state, it is infinite possibilities. There is infinite possibilities that all things are possible. The I Am was first revealed to Moses when he was praying in Mount Sinai at the burning bush. Moses heard a voice, God talking to him. When he was praying for guidance about his people, and he heard a voice coming from the burning bush. And in Exodus chapter 3, 4:16 says, God revealed to Moses, I am who I am. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, God of Isaac and Jacob. God said, tell to your people, my name is I am. Forever, the name by which I am to be remembered from generation to generation. We all have that I am, don't we? I am speaking. You can also say, I am listening. So the I am is the individualized God within each one of us. And Jesus demonstrated that truth when he said, I am light. I am the truth. Jesus used the term I am to proclaim his divinity. He connects himself to his aspects of God's nature and with God's eternal existence. And he also said, you can do what I do. He just showed us what to do. So since we all have that I am presence in us, within us, which is our higher aspect of our godly self, then we also can connect. We can have access to that presence anytime we choose. So when we connect to our I am presence during the prayer, which is God, we are opening ourselves to that infinite possibilities because we are connected to the source that all is and all there is. So in that I am state, usually we listen. That's what I do when I am praying and meditating. I say my prayer, and when I reach in my I am state, I just become quiet and I listen. That is a meditative state that we reach, which is the highest. And as we are listening, we hear God speaking to us, answering to our prayers with positive affirmations. At the beginning, when we ask for strength, we hear God saying, I am strong. And we are listening to all this positive affirmation. I am capable of handling my challenges. I am healthy. I am happy. All these positive affirmations started coming through our spirit body, our cellular body. It transmutes to our cellular memories, and through that goes to the neurons. It transmits to the neurons in our brain, and eventually it goes through the thinking process. So by the time we are done with the prayer, we have all these positive thoughts and affirmations in our mind. That's the only thing we hear. I am strong, I am happy, I can do what I want to do. And as we absorb and we put all these positive affirmations into action, and there we go. Our prayer is manifested. Any positive action, the result is success. So by applying those affirmations into our action, we can achieve anything that we want. Any goal that we have, we want to achieve, it becomes possible. Yes, prayer does work. There are many evidences that people were healed with prayers. Dr. Emoto, I think his last name, back in, late 90s, he did a scientific proof that prayers heal the waters. And every time he said a prayer, the vibration that were coming from the prayer healed formed the crystals in the water, which then purified the water. So prayers are said in groups or alone. We can pray in groups where one person leads the group. That's usually done in churches or spiritual or religious organizations. We can also pray alone or in isolation. Usually prophets or spiritual leaders who have greater mission in their lives to assist others, they pray in isolation to establish a stronger connection with God. And they pray frequently, more than the ordinary people. As is the case with Moses, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, and other enlightened masters that have achieved self-realization. They often communicate with God and pray to God for assistance so they can be of assistance to those who are seeking enlightenment. So in conclusion, regardless of which faith or religious background we belong to, when you acknowledge God with faith and confidence and believe that God listens and delivers your prayer, open that line of communication if you haven't, and establish that call, that connection with Him. And know that no matter how far you roam, your connection with Him will never be lost. You may lose a connection when you're talking on the cell phone, but this connection that you establish with God will not be lost, I guarantee you. Whether you pray in a church, in a synagogue, or an ashram, or alone, it doesn't matter. Wherever you are, you can establish that connection. So make that connection. And when you pray, pray wholeheartedly. Pray with feelings. Pray with emotions and confidence and faith. And when you pray with all of your heart, you can expect miracles. Miracles do happen when you are asking for God for something that you really love and you want. It will be granted to you. Your prayers, believe that your prayers will be answered in the order which it was received. And yet better, prayers will answer in divine timing. So I hope I said enough. God bless you, and thank you for listening.